All right, let's talk Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, training camp is here, and we've got some exciting Chargers news for you guys. A lot of momentum in LA, a lot of stuff to be excited for. Great report out of camp that we're going to hit on in just a second. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, so look, we know the Chargers with new head man Jim Harbaugh. They've got a lot of momentum, a lot of great energy because everyone's excited to see what Jim Harbaugh will bring to this Chargers football team. But I think already he has made an incredible move. Part of his moxie, part of his charisma, part of his talent as a leader and a head coach is getting the best out of his players. And he seems to have already revitalized the career of one player who was already ruled a bust. Let's get into this report, then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is courtesy of Sporting News. Los Angeles Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh defended former first-round selection Quentin Johnston, who a lot of people thought was a bust, after the team's first training camp practice, citing how the wide receiver has gotten stronger and sharper this offseason. Well, Johnston certainly wasn't going to let his coach down after that. Johnston winning vertically against 4.3940 corner Deanne Leonard is impressive, as the above tweet from Chris Rim states, defensive backs are not trying to get physical and contest every catch. The rules also apply to wide receivers, so Johnston would not be allowed to jump up and high point the football in this scenario. Still, the touchdown reception is promising. Touchdowns are good, right? Obviously. The solid performance follows a day where Johnston caught 3 passes on 2 out routes and 1 dig route. No one is ready to say this signals a true second-year turnaround, but so far, so good for a wide receiver trying to break away from the bust label. All right, so basically the consensus is so far that Johnston has had a really strong start to camp, which surprised a lot of people considering, to be honest, he was terrible last year. The bust label was apt. It looks like Jim Harbaugh, through just his energy, his vibes, his coaching, has revitalized Johnston's career, which is exactly why LA brought him into the fold. Great sign for the Chargers here. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but first, Chargers fans, in the comment section below, talking a little bit about Johnston here. Who is your favorite wide receiver in Chargers history? There's a lot of really interesting names. A lot of guys could be at the top of the list, but we're going to make you pick only one. Who is your favorite Chargers wide receiver of all time? And put them in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure you check out the description below where we've got a link, our affiliate link to our recommended book for you this training camp to get ready for the upcoming season. It is Playmakers by the great Mike Flory over at Pro Football Talk. All kinds of great nuggets. And look, I'm not just saying it. I bought the book, right? I spent my own money on it, got the book. It's a great read. Highly recommend you buy it as well. Make sure you use our affiliate link in the description box below. If you do that, it helps the channel out. But Miles, I'll throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest Chargers news?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is great news for all the Chargers fans. And, you look at the story on face value, people be like, oh, well, Quentin Johnston doing a little bit better. I think that's good. But it's like you allude to. This seems like the Jim Harbaugh effect. And I think this is good. I think this is a really interesting approach in more ways than one. Because when you look at the team, you spoke about favorite Chargers wide receivers of all time. A couple of options aren't on this team anymore. Keenan Allen off to a different team. Mike Williams, no longer a part of the program. So what are the Chargers going to do at wide receiver? They can trust Lad McConkey. Is DJ Shark going to be the number one guy forever? Is Palmer ready to take the next step? I think there was a lot of question. But what Jim Harbaugh has done is he looks at the talent on this roster. I think he sees a guy like Quentin Johnston, who we know has every physical tool you could ever want in a receiver. And he just needed a little bit of coaching. Just need a little bit of get coached up. Says, hey, this is a guy who I think is going to be good. I think he's sharper. I think he's stronger. I think he's faster. He's really looking good. And what does Quentin Johnston do? Takes that to heart. I think he starts to have a really great camp. You start to look at a guy like Jim Harbaugh as, maybe there were a lot of problems with the coaching with the Chargers. Maybe there was a lot of great talent. Maybe Quentin Johnston was a lot better than we thought he was last season. Can Jim Harbaugh be the guy to get the most out of him? Which I think innately, he's a guy that's exactly what he does. He can really come into a program and whip it around just like that. You're going to start to see stars come out of players that you would never have realized before. You might have slapped a bust label on Quentin Johnston last year. Now we're going to see him potentially work his way to be a number one candidate for this team. I mean, that's a stretch right now. It's very early on, but I'm saying those are what the possibilities of a guy like Jim Harbaugh brings to this team. I'm really excited, Nick. And if I was a Chargers fan, I would start looking at this team. Where is the hidden talent? What have we missed? Who has the physical tools and who can be coached up? Because that is what Harbaugh is looking for.
There's one thing I disagree on with you, Miles. I agree on pretty much everything you said there. You said there's a lot of possibilities for guys being maximized with their talent. I think it's not a possibility. I think it's a guarantee because we literally have seen this from Harbaugh every step of his career. He is the quintessential talent maximizer. You look at the San Francisco 49ers, his last year with them, his last 2 years, I should say, he went 12-4, went 8-8. The 49ers, the next 2 years after Harbaugh left, went 5-11 and 2-14 with a very similar talent level, right? With Harbaugh, they were winning a lot of games, averaging 10 wins a year over the last 2 years. Without him, they were averaging about 3. 7-win delta. That's talent maximization. Let's go to Michigan now, his time in college football. His biggest rival obviously was Ohio State. The difference in recruiting classes from 2021 to 2023 was about 10 places per year. Ohio State was about 5th in the country. Michigan was about 15th on average. Despite that big talent disparity on paper, Michigan beat Ohio State all 3 times they played during that window the past 3 seasons. What does that mean? It means Harbaugh's a talent maximizer. He gets a guy that, to use like a Madden video game scale, grades out at say a 75 or an 80, and he turns him into a 90, right? He gets a guy who's a 60 and turns him into an 80. That's what he did at San Francisco. That's what he did at Michigan. And that's what he's going to do with the Los Angeles Chargers. And he already did it with Quentin Johnston. Whether it's his knowledge of the game, whether it's putting his players in positions to be successful. That's an underrated talent of his, by the way. He's very good at creating offenses and defenses that are best suited for the talent that he has on the team. He is not just tied to a scheme. He's very good at finding the right strategy for his players specifically, but he also has the ability to be kind of a motivator, a guy who can, I don't want to say a cheerleader, but just his weird, goofy mannerisms, his authenticity, it gets people heading in the right direction. His positivity, all of that comes together to the point where we're going to see not just Johnston become a lot better. I think we're going to see the entire roster elevate their game. And that's why I think the Chargers are a sneaky pick right now to make a potential playoff spot. Look, obviously there was big talent dump this offseason. We all get it. But with Harbaugh maximizing this talent and he's still got Herbert, there's a lot of reasons to think this is a Chargers team that could be fighting for the playoffs by the end of the season.